Tracy Swedlow, and this is Televisionation. I'm really excited to talk to Avigail Gutman, who is the Vice President, Intelligence and Security at Synamedia. Very auspicious title. Welcome to the show, Avigail. I'm so glad you're
Thank
here.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here.
That is a serious title, and we have much to discuss. We're going to talk about security, piracy in the age of COVID, what's happening before, what happens now, going to happen afterwards, and obviously streaming content, streaming TV, controlling it, monetizing it, delivering it. Those are all the things that Synamedia enables through their cloud platform. And you can see the URL here, synamedia.com. And let's hear all about it. But first, I wanted to ask you a little bit about yourself, because I was looking on your bio and I saw that you used to teach poetry and English and all of these amazing things. And now I have a theater background too. So everybody directing theater, film, TV, but poetry and English now in hardcore intelligence and security.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think about that?
What do I? So first of all, I think it's possible. I think it's possible to be in high tech and have a humanities background. I think it's possible to and even good socially to have a kind of varied education. And I think yeah, I have a varied background. I was in journalism. I studied theater. I studied English. I studied criminology.
Oh, yes, criminology. I saw that. Yeah.
Yes,
My
and
husband. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was saying my husband, who did a PhD in philosophy, you know, said that it's really just about learning how to communicate, how to think, how to plan what you're going, and that's important training no matter what field you go into. So
That's right.
I agree.
That's right. Yeah. And I actually went into moved myself into high tech about 25 years ago, um, and it was a little bit of a shock for me too. I decided that I needed to have I'd studied all these wonderful humanities fields and social sciences, and I enjoyed them, and it was really hard to actually make a living. So it was the time of the high tech bubble, and so I decided that I was going to shift, and I kind of went to night school and studied a little programming and system design and all that. And
Oh,
I
wow.
got yeah, and I started actually by doing internet websites for schools through the education ministry. I had worked before that for government anyway, so it kind of flowed. And when that kind of ended, I was introduced to a company called NDS. And NDS was a
Yes.
company that did encryption and security for pay TV, which I thought was like science fiction at the time. And that's what NDS was. It was it was a technology company doing security solutions for pay television companies, the big ones, Sky, DirecTV, Star TV, a bunch of different ones around the world. And and I started there as a researcher in the area of anti-piracy, and I became a hacker tracker myself, and then I led a
Interesting.
team of hacker trackers. And what we were doing was, in fact, supplementing the technology, or protecting, or providing a wrapper around our security technology, because our belief was always that any technology, especially security technology, is very attractive to hackers. And given time and money and other resources, hackers will hack anything.
Hmm.
And and it doesn't help that hackers and pirates and people believe that video, because it's in the air, it should be free. And so all these security technologies were up for attacks by hackers at the time. And so we, as a company, decided that we don't only develop security technologies, but we also provide an operational security team. And that's the team that I'm in. And today it's called the Intelligence and Security Operations Team. After several years, we were we exited into Cisco. We spent
Cisco
a few years.
Videoscape, right?
Right, exactly.
Right.
So we were the video technologies business or business unit in Cisco for 6 years, and then they spun us out, and in fact, and we rebranded ourselves and were reborn as Synamedia. And Synamedia does more, as you suggested. We do video delivery platforms, cloud delivery platforms. We do the traditional broadcast, which is, it could be satellite or cable. Um, that is more device based, and we do targeted advertising. We do all kinds of security technologies, so DRM, conditional access, OTT security in general, watermarking, detection, monitoring of piracy. So we're a big security. We have within Synamedia a very big security organization that is very much intelligence based. And one of the things that we do is we gather intelligence about hackers and pirates, and we use that intelligence to improve products, and we use that intelligence also to help our customers battle piracy.
Well, I I want to hear all about that. I want to hear what they're interested in, what the trends are right now. But before that, I'm just going to do a old shout out to Abe Peled, who I haven't seen in a while, who was the founder of NDS. I don't know if he's listening, but watching. But anyway, I did actually go over for NDS events back in the day when I used to fly, when I used to be okay with flying to London, and I visited the NDS offices, and I appreciated that. Anyway, so tell me a little bit about. I mean, in the age of COVID, right now, streaming obviously high priority for everybody. So you're kind of in the hot seat to make sure that these
Right,
companies, don't lose their shirts, plural. So tell me a little bit about how important that is on the
right,
priority list of all of your customers, and
right.
what you're seeing, what kinds of trends you're seeing. What are these hackers trying to do?
So, you know, streaming piracy was always big. Pre-COVID, it was big. I mean, we're talking about, over, 900 or $40 million lost in the EU to piracy. We're talking about, over $7.5 million lost to the U.S. economy on piracy, over 450,000 jobs in sports, in live sports, uh, TV, video, um, that are lost because of piracy. So we had always seen um, losses to piracy, and piracy was always on the increase. I think what
Mm-hmm.
happened in COVID is, of course, that everybody was locked in at home and wanted to or had nothing else to watch. Now, this was also compounded by the fact that there was no live sports, so there was you saw a big spike in watching, TV series and VOD. Um,
And
and there were,
Stitzel, and
and
Stitzel
yeah,
on
there we
Netflix
go. There we go.
and
And we
Unorthodox.
saw a bunch of
Okay.
phenomena that were interesting. The pirates too were stuck at home, and the hackers. And they had to, for the big pirates, this is big business, but for most end dealers of piracy, or most smaller dealers of piracy, could be a second job, and it suddenly became their main job because everybody was closed at home. Many people couldn't go to work. They were, they were put out on holiday, or their job was just not needed during COVID, and so the pirates and hackers in this respect invested a lot more during COVID. So we saw a rise in the availability of um, VOD content, significant. We saw pirates preparing things and hackers preparing tools and preparing for the end of COVID. So, for example, we saw them setting up a lot more domains for streaming piracy illicitly. And we measured that to see how many more domains. And we saw them putting up a lot of dormant domains because they were preparing for the day after, when takedowns would resume, when the police and government would be available to take more action against piracy rather than dealing with COVID issues. um, and so they prepared themselves. They plugged security holes that they had in their pirate applications.
Mm-hmm.
They added features to their pirate applications, like, longer recording capabilities in the cloud DVR, for example, catch-up TV. And so they did a lot of this stuff. We saw an increase in the availability of stolen credentials and in the demand for stolen credentials for VOD services.
Is there
So,
like
I mean,
a is there like a secondary market for all this? I mean, I don't know if they're selling that on the market. I know people have done it. I mean, people have been doing it in Silicon Valley for a long time, sharing peer-to-peer
right. So
links and
there's a
things like
different,
that.
right. So I think there's a difference between, when we're talking about credentials, between sharing credentials with your family and
Right,
friends, and
right.
there's a difference with, there have been so many data breaches for big companies where credentials were just spilt onto the net or to the dark web. And I mean, I think we've seen over 15 years more than 1.6 billion stolen, credentials that were leaked out, and we call these stolen credentials once they get back on the market and get sold for different purposes. And we see both in the open net and in the dark web a lot of sales of these credentials, because people, I think, feel that they, when they're viewing a streaming service with a credential, rather than buying some pirate service or using some web-based service that maybe is not as
It's a little
qualitatively,
riskier. They're scared
it's
they
a
might get a
risky, yeah.
virus
I think
with
when
it or
they're using a
something.
credential,
Hmm.
they feel like this is legitimate, like the operator or the content owner won't know or won't be able to detect, because this is a legitimate, this is somebody's real details.
I
And
would
so,
I would
yeah,
argue, by the way, before I want to hear the rest of that, and I'm going to interrupt, but I would argue that the operators do not do a very good job of marketing the existence of using credentials, or giving them, not selling, but giving them to a parent or something like that, or other friends, but finding a way to proactively offer them for like a slight upgrade. Or they're not monetizing this. They're not figuring out the right business model, and they certainly don't tell you very obviously. I'm just putting that out
right.
there. But anyway.
So you're right. I think for some, it's almost like a, part of their business plan not to take care of this. And for some of the VOD providers, they consider it not okay to tell you not to share. I think more than the sharing, which you know funny you should ask. We happen to have a product. No, we do. That's called Credential Sharing Insights, that actually helps the operators and the service providers check to see the behavioral patterns of users, it's data analytics, and you see what normal behavior is and what unusual behavior is, and then the operators can then go to the subscribers, as you
Mm-hmm.
suggested,
Mm-hmm.
actually, and say
Mm-hmm.
to them, listen, we see that you're sharing with your kids in college, right? Why don't we give you a special family package instead, right?
Yeah,
Or
they
why don't we, and they can monetize this, right? And that's something that can get done. And in addition, we look at the fraud that is affected with the stolen credentials, so we feed that in to our customers, who are the content owners and the service providers, and they can then alert a user if their credentials are being abused, really, right?
Well, the credit, your banks, the credit agencies, they do that, right? They help fraud
Right,
detection. It's like you need a partner. The average consumer needs a fraud protection in terms of all of the streaming services that they own. It's almost like there's
right,
a need for a new type of company to help you protect
right,
your identity. Okay. All right. There's another
right.
business Synamedia could go in. Um, Tell me more
We're
about
in
how.
there. We're
Okay.
in there.
But you're more B2B. You're not B2C
We're
necessarily.
not B2C, we're B2B, but we offer our customers, which could be big operators like Sky and Comcast and DirecTV. We offer our customers tools to actually do this monetization, and the technology to enable it.
And then
They need to, right. They
It's
need to
their
make the
job.
decisions. Yeah.
So tell me more, a little bit more about how you were able to see what they're doing. What's the secret sauce behind finding these hackers and pirates? How do you
Okay.
how do you do that?
How do we do that?
Yes.
So we have so we have teams that are, as I said, with varied skill sets. We've got people who are, um, you know, technologists, reverse engineers who can look at whatever hackers are developing and see their level of knowledge, the tools they're using, and what they're trying to break, and bring that information into our R&D so that we can improve our products or fix them or prevent what hackers are doing. We have
Do the hackers
um,
know they're being tracked? Can they tell, you think?
I think anybody who's been around in this business for as long as we have. I think pirates and hackers. I mean, I think everybody knows that they're taking a risk here. I mean, it's a cost benefit equation for them, and if they feel that the risk is low, that they can't be, that there's nobody's going to track them or take them to court or you know sue them over it, they're going to take bigger risks than if they aren't, or if they feel that there's no technological solution to shut down their pirate inventions, then they'll take it. And they also feel protected behind a screen, and this is true for any kind of crime that's conducted behind a screen, where the offender feels more protected. But we use web intelligence and open source intelligence. We do field investigations. We send people to see pirate markets, to talk to hackers offline, to join, the more closed pirate circles. We do overt and covert work with pirates and hackers. Uh, we sometimes engage them in, we consult in them to know, what the next trends are. We do cyber intelligence. So we
What is
look at
cyber intelligence as opposed to everything else?
so, we also are looking, since today's piracy is very much on the network, it's on the internet. It's not like it was 20 years ago where you had to have a device, a physical, hacked smart card or set-top box. Today, piracy is about the illicit redistribution over networks, through CDNs, hosted globally. Um, and everybody's on the net. So, we would track it the way we would on the ground, but we would track it also in cyber, also on the internet, by connecting to the pirate networks, by talking to the pirates and hackers themselves. And we try to gather as much information as we can, analyze it, figure out where the risks are, map out the bigger networks that are causing financial damage to legitimate license owners, whether it's live sports, whether it's like the studios, whether it's the Disneys, the Hulus, the VOD providers, the B2C providers, whether it's content creators. I mean, Star TV have a lot of content that they create and they own, as do Sky, as do the studios. So we try to aid them in by providing them with not only the technology, which could be DRM, could be watermark to track where their video, where the source video is coming from, and it could be a myriad of other things. We also provide them the operational intelligence that we gather.
Uh, are there particular types of services that are easier or more protected, like the MVPDs, the pay TV operators who have been in this business for a long time? They probably live and die by this stuff. But these new entrants to the market, or the apps, and the OTT universe, they probably have different levels of ability to make sure
Right.
that their content is protected. Obviously, the more money you have, the more protected you are, like a Disney Plus. But some of these new app entrants, do you think that they're leveling up to the place where they need to be, or is there a certain amount of slackness going on? Do you see where I'm going with this
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
Like
So I think there is. I think there is a lot of awareness that there's a need for technological security. I think we're seeing that, taking legal action against somebody who's stolen your content and redistributed it often happens way after the content is out there already, and that doesn't help. So you need to have technology. You're right that it is, security is almost considered like an insurance policy. Do you take out a big policy, or do you take the minimal and hope that nothing will happen, right? Piracy today of content is really easy to do. It's cheap to set up relatively to hacks, to distribution of content before the internet. If you even take down a pirate, you do legal takedowns of websites, or you do other kind of disruptions, they can turn the corner. So there's immediate displacement of the offense, and they can do it in minutes, right? They can set up servers in faraway lands offshore where you maybe there aren't laws that can help you to take it down. So I think everybody realizes the size of the problem, and I think there is a tension there between understanding that you need to invest in security and the actual ability to invest in security. Because if you think about it, also the OTT um, income for the providers is lower than it was for the traditional satellite pay TV
So are
business.
they, yeah, no, that's a great observation. Uh, I'm just kind of curious, do you see out there, can you tell which of these, app platforms are doing a better or worse job of protecting their content? Can you see that like night and day when you're looking?
Um, So yes, so we can see it. Um, and we preach, right, a little bit, right? So we say you really need to have a good security baseline. So if you're an OTT provider with applications and you're B2C and you're streaming your own content, you really have to have a good DRM. You have to have protection on your CDNs. You have to have put in all the cloud protection that you need, because you're now dependent also on external bodies. You're dependent on the cloud providers, on the hosts, on the payment systems, and you need to be able to, excuse me one second, sorry, and you need to be able to get coverage or security coverage for the entire chain, right? Whereas once you knew you knew the piracy was about the hacker, and the pirate was the guy with the deep pockets, and the hacker was the techie who broke whatever you needed, and you knew those were the bad guys, right? And those were the people you needed to protect against. Today, you're looking at a piracy chain that is made up. First of all, that is the chain is longer. You've got the content providers. You've got the people who you've got the payment providers, right? So it's the PayPals and the credit cards and the banks and the Bitcoins of the world. You've got the hosts and the CDNs. You've got the ISPs. You've got the clouds. You've got all these different players, and most of them are in the legitimate market. They're not bad guys. And the fact that bad guys use them makes it very difficult, both for those legitimate businesses to stand up and say, wait, how do I assist in this? And also they also say it's not my business to check every single packet that goes through me as a cloud host, for example. So it's your business as the content owner to protect your content. It's your business as the end user to protect your identity and make sure your credentials aren't stolen, etc.
So is it easy for these hackers or pirates to masquerade as legitimate by using all of these services that are used in the whole
It
process?
helps them. Yeah, it
Hmm.
helps them conceal themselves. It helps them that the business is and the technology is fragmented. So they could be, the pirate himself could be in the UK, but his servers are sitting in the Ukraine okay? And the content he's pulling from CDNs of legitimate providers in the US, and he's also pulling content from a legitimate subscription, let's say, to a provider, and he's also pulling content from other pirates, and all of that he's streaming through a server in the Ukraine. He's using a customer kind of management system, a CMS, that is built for piracy, that serves pirates. I mean, there are some that are dedicated to this. He might even diversify and sell stolen credentials, so that if your service is unstable, here, why don't you try these credentials for this match, right?
Mm.
He's like upselling you, giving you special deals. In COVID, we saw that a lot. A lot of special deals came out. It was
Well,
kind
it's
of
still
like
going
Christmas.
on. It's still going
Yeah,
on. So,
yeah.
um,
It is, except that live sports came back. And so, you
not in the
know,
U.S. is really not yet.
yeah, okay. Yeah, but we've got Champions League back, and we've got Bundesliga back, and we've got snooker is back.
Oh boy, that is a high priority item. Everybody wants to see. Okay. What about blockchain?